Right, okay, Liverpool against Burnley. Oh, God, another disappointing day at the office for Liverpool. Yeah, do you know towards the end of this game, Dean? I don't know if you were there. What game were you? I don't know if you were there or not, actually. But towards the end of this game, the Liverpool fans were screaming, "Attack! Attack! Attack!" And the issue that they've had over the course of this season, I feel, is the slow, ponderous manner with which they attack matches. There's none of that urgency and heavy metal that there used to be, and I think the fans are getting a little bit bored.
I'll say it again, pace. You need pace in your team. You need pace when teams sit back. I've been at Anfield numerous times this season. Every team sees it. Every team recognises it. They sit deep. They let Van Dijk pass it to Konate, back to Van Dijk, to Kerkez, to Van Dijk, to Konate, to Bradley or Frimpong, and back. And it's difficult to watch at times. I can see their frustration. There's no pace. Wirtz, no pace. Gakpo, no pace. Szoboszlai, no pace. Epitike has, but he's got nowhere to run because there's no space. So I think, again, it's a bit like Manchester City at times, is when you don't have those players that individually can go past somebody, that brings another defender out and another defender out. If you don't have those players, you are going to find it very, very difficult against such organised defences now, because of the video analysis every team can have now. They see it all. Players really understand how to defend against you if you don't have a player that can beat somebody.
And that's the key, isn't it, right? You do need magic in your team. You do need that sort of meteorite that just blazes a trowel past the defence. You need someone to take players on. Is there enough of that in the Liverpool team?
Well, that was Mo Salah last season, and we've not really seen it this. Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, with his range of passing, I think was releasing those wide players. They've not got that in their armoury this year. Luis Diaz, I think, has been a massive loss. I understand the fiscal reasons for cashing in on him at his age, but
he wanted to go as well, didn't
he? He did, and it would have been hard to keep him, but obviously that's somebody else that they've badly missed. Diogo Jota was able to inject that urgency quite often as a sub, and obviously due to tragic circumstances he's not there. But I do think Arne Slot has got a problem, because the fans are starting to get quite frustrated by the way the team are playing, and Xabi Alonso is now a free agent. We know that he would have been high on Liverpool's list of targets to replace Jurgen Klopp had it not been a foregone conclusion that he was going to Real Madrid. And I think if performances continue to be stodgy, and particularly if they don't end up in the top 4 or 5, I'm not sure that Arne Slot will be the manager at the start of next season. It really would not shock me if come August, Xabi Alonso is the man leading the team out at Anfield.
Which, because of the way that the season has gone this season, the way that we sack managers, move on and, try and get another one sacked within 3 seconds, and then there's clamour for a new man every 2 minutes. So it wouldn't be a surprise. But actually, when we probably look back at it in 5 years' time, we'll go, he won the title and then you fired him the next year. Are you being serious? That doesn't sound like a thing that Liverpool would usually do. So I think it would be a massive thing, actually, if Liverpool did end up doing that. I mean, I wrote on my sheet when I was watching the game, lack of composure in front of goal, lack of ruthlessness, and no pressure on the ball when Florentino picks out the forwards. I mean, that sort of sums it up for me, because they're in that situation where there's not enough pressure of the ball in midfield, and when they get into the final third, there's not enough urgency to finish the chance with any real crispness.
It's interesting you mentioned that lack of ruthlessness, and I do watch Liverpool and feel they've lost their edge, and I do wonder how much of that goes back to the summer and the fact they had to attend the funeral of their own teammate. So all of a sudden, where football might have been seen as life and death, maybe it isn't anymore for a lot of those Liverpool players.
But I understand that. If you speak to people inside Liverpool, they'll tell you, there was a scenario last year where everything was all about winning the league. They had to do this. They had to prove everybody wrong that they could get over the line. It was the most important thing in their lives. And actually, maybe after the summer, it isn't. And I understand that completely. Quick word on Chelsea and Brentford. Chelsea 2, Brentford. No, you went to this game, didn't you? Yeah, you went out with my brother afterwards as well.
Yeah, more by accident. But yeah.
Outrageous. He's only over from the United States for a couple of weeks, and you ended up going out drinking with him twice this week. I've only seen him once.
Well, that's often the way. I pay him more attention than you do. But yeah, I mean, it was his first visit to Stamford Bridge in a while. He enjoyed the result. I'm not sure he would have enjoyed the performance much because Brentford were the better team for much of the game. They missed so many chances. Kevin Schade in the first half. Dino, when he goes through, he leaves the defender on his backside. Why on earth is he passing that across the face of goal?
I've got no idea. I audibly screamed at him, and it's got nothing to do with me. But it was just like, what an opportunity! And then he went through, didn't he, in the second half, 1v1, and Sanchez made the save. It feels like Chelsea won, yet the manager probably didn't get much credit for it in a sense because of the performance. And when you certainly I watched the extended highlights, and you're right, Brentford had plenty of the game, and maybe the result could have been different.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea, I think, only had 2 shots on target by the time that Cole Palmer rattles in the penalty in the 76th minute, which sort of tells you the balance of power in that game. But Liam Rosenior said a number of players were playing with a virus that was affecting their breathing and their chests because they had this virus that ripped through the camp in midweek, which robbed them of Delap's and Gittins before the Carabao Cup semi-final. And he said similarly, players chose to play even though they weren't 100%. So that might just excuse the performance. However, Crook did manage to wind him up. It wasn't anything to do with Lego.
I wasn't trying to wind him up at all.
Or anything to do with, what else is his bugbear at the moment? He
takes his gloves off and he said that the players can hear him.
Take his gloves off. Or man and manage. Yeah. Didn't have that.
That is very David Brent, isn't it? Listen, I
don't say that about him because I feel so sorry for Liam Rosenior because he's getting a lot of stick for all of this sort of off the field stuff. He's just trying to express himself in a different way.
I think he'll learn quite quickly that the scrutiny that he's under now is like nothing he's ever experienced before. The number of interviews that he has to do, the number of press conferences that he's expected to attend, and therefore the number of questions that he needs to answer. Listen, right at the end of the interview, I just said, look, obviously the result is all-encompassing, but you've come through your first game as Premier League manager. That must be a proud moment. And he said, what do you mean come through? It sounds like I just survived. And I said, no, I'm just saying it's a milestone for you.
At Chelsea, surviving one game is quite an achievement.
But I thought it was needlessly defensive, really, because it was an opportunity just to
maybe you didn't
celebrate.
Right.
Maybe I didn't, but
maybe you should think about your wording of your question instead of getting annoyed about his reaction.
I'm not annoyed at all. I just thought
he was annoyed. He sent it to me.
I thought it was a strange reaction. That's all.
I've got several messages from him in which he then cut it up and sent it around. Said, "What do you think about this?" Dino, sometimes he does have to work on his interview technique, I think.
Well, I know you're calling him the Saltmeister, so clearly that hadn't worn off, had it, by the time he got to poor Liam?
And maybe Liam's heard that as well.
Well, maybe it's all your fault.
It's not me. It was Kate.
But I wish him well. But I think if he's being that defensive now, when he's just come in, he's just won his first Premier League game. What's he going to be like when the pressure is really on? They're losing matches.
Just leave him alone. Just give him a bit of time to bed in. Good English young coach at the top of the Premier League. Him and Michael Carrick, let's just look after them a little bit for a little while and support them and see how they develop.
Talk Sport.